This is the X&C Podcast, your Xbox newscast, featuring Colteastwood and Mag, hosting industry interviews and gaming talk live on YouTube every Monday night at 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For all of you listening around the world, X&C Podcast is available on demand on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show. Join the chat, hit the like button, and let's get into this week's topics with the Xbox Newscast. Welcome back to the X&C Podcast. I'm your Colteastwood host.
Oh, you're Colteastwood host.
I've already messed up because I'm like, hey, does the camera work? Because I had this weird glitch, but when things don't work, I think we're good. I'm gonna, I think I can go over here. Yeah, we're good. So welcome to the show. This is episode 99, believe it or not. We are at almost 100 episodes, and normally people do some magical, crazy adventure on their 100th episode, but I feel like we're just getting started. And I'm here with my brand new co-host who's been here for about a month. Mag, yes. Middle-aged game guy, how are you, bro?
Yes, I am fantastic. I'm fired up, ready to go. Listen, tonight's shirt of the week is brought to you by none other than the Man of Steel himself. That's what the ladies call me. Right there, look at him.
With the little up in the forehead.
There he is, the Man of Steel. That's the Man of Steel. And you know what? I got to tell you, I've been the Man of Steel this week. I've been on 4 podcasts this week. I still got 2 more to go. It has been one heck of a week, I got to tell you. And, you know, between that and work and everything else, I haven't been doing much gaming, which we'll talk about in a moment. However, I'm going to get back into it very soon because there's a lot to play, a lot coming up, a lot to be excited about. So anyways, Colt, or host, whatever you want to call yourself this
host
week.
Eastwood
let's get into this show.
with Co-Mag. I thought we signed an exclusivity agreement contract that you weren't allowed to be on any other podcast or talk to anybody else except for me. Did we do something like that?
Sorry, I'm cheating on you. What do you want me to say? Hey, that's just the way it goes. Hey, I'm a free market man. You can't hold me down, except for my wife. She'll stab me when I'm sleeping. Anyways, that's a whole other story. But Jimmy, what's up, buddy?
Ground Chuck Mag, just passing them around the market for everybody. We appreciate you, Rob. Really appreciate having you on. And this week's been so crazy, and you and I haven't even talked. And shout out to everybody for checking us out today. I'm in a really super great mood. Mag has been working himself to the bone, but I'll start off by talking about this game quickly, because if you let me, I would talk about it for 2 hours, so we'll talk about it for just a minute. I waited 10 years for Dead Island 2, and I assumed it would be good enough. I know how campy the first one was, but I still loved it. And knowing the team Dam Busters who made Homefront the Revolution, they've never really knocked it out of the park. And I got to say, I don't know how this game is getting to 74 or 75 Metacritic, because I think it is absolutely fantastic. It is a total joy to play. It is one of the most beautiful games that I've played and the most gory. It's just, I could talk forever, but it's so good. And Mag, you haven't even had a chance to get hands on because you've been working all weekend.
I have it. It's sitting there, the tile's staring at me, but I haven't had any bloody time. So it's been 4 days. I'm on the last chapter of Resident Evil 4. All right, so I'm just about wrapped up that game. Although that doesn't mean the end, because I'm going to complete it 100%. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to play it 3 more times. I don't care, Colt. It's getting done. I got to do it on the hardcore difficulty. Everybody does that.
I'm only halfway through it.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I just got, by the way? I just got the one achievement for the getting the S rank on every single gun range.
Oh, jeez.
So I got all 12 gun ranges on S rank. That was fun. Allow me to tell you. So, anyways, enough of that. I'm gonna tell you that. So I got
enough of video
that
games.
There. But here, back to this. We got to think about something else. I know Dying Light, Jesus Christ. Dead Island 2 is out. Now, there's something very interesting. Now, this is brought to me by from Jez, of all things. He posted a Jez Corden, of course. Anybody who's not following him, follow him. Not that clown boyfriend of his, him. Okay? We all know who we're talking about. Yeah, so
we love Rand, but yes, please follow Jez.
What? I actually spoke to Rand about 5 days ago. Yes, he's a wonderful human being. Anyways, all seriousness, getting back to this, Dying Light 2, not to be outdone, Techland, not to be outshone by Dead Island 2, which they are anyway. But the thing is, they released a new patch and a new update, and you know what it's called? Love the name. It's called Gut Feeling 1.10. Okay, and what it is that they focus on first of all, they did a full cleanup of the visual fidelity and of course the graphics. They updated everything for like a full next gen patch. Then what they did is that they focused on the physical combat, brutality, and gore. So what they did is very much like that. What the heck is that one called for Dead Island 2? It's got a really funny name. It's the mechanic they have for like all the guts and everything and all the gore.
Flesh.
There's a name for it.
The Flesh engine. Yeah.
Yes, the Flesh engine. So what these guys did, Techland created one called the Gut Feeling. And so it's the same idea. So what they did is they put that in there to match Dead Island 2 in its gore. And now people on the internet and everything else, they're calling it the Gore War. So it's Techland. Isn't that great? So it's like Dying Light 2 is now going head to head. And you know what? You got to give it to Techland. Okay, with Dying Light 1, they supported that game for how many, 8 years after the game was released. They were still releasing free content for that game, new game modes, all kinds of cool stuff. So they had all that going on. So now they added all this brutal content. So now what they're doing is they're going and having a gore war against Dead Island 2. So the other cool thing, last thing I'll say about this, is that both on Xbox and PlayStation, they've reduced the price by 70% right now, and they did that right on the day that Dead Island 2 launched. So from now, and I think for another 4 days from now, if I'm not mistaken, it's on sale. Now, in Canada, it's $39.99, which in the US, it's $29.99 for Dying Light 2. That is a steal. Okay, that is like a single A, or whatever. You could just say that's the price of an indie game. Okay, so that's fantastic. Now that comes with all the next gen upgrades and the gut feeling update and all that kind of stuff too, right? So that being the case, now I spoke to Wilmy because I did a show with Wilmy last night, and shout out to Wilmy Hood. And he said to me he played through Dying Light 4 times. He loved it so much. So I'm like, and I trust that guy when it comes to.
First one's a classic, yeah.
Oh no! Dying Light 2 he played 4 times. He says I adored it. He loved it. So, Colt, you really had to do this. Which is better?
I really like Dying Light 2, but the last 10 hours were just really too much. Too much running back and forth on the map or fast traveling long distances, and it just kind of overstayed its welcome. But the first 20, 30 hours were brilliant. And I got to slow you down. You're going 100 miles an hour because...
Of course I am.
Rewind back to 10 years ago, Dying Light... a brand new version, an upgrade of Dead Island from Techland, who made Dead Island.
Yes.
That was supposed to launch right next to another studio, which was Sumo Digital, which were taking over the Dead Island franchise. So at the beginning, we're like 1 year into the Xbox One and PS4, Dead Island 2 and the all new Dying Light were supposed to launch together, and Dead Island got delayed. And delayed, and for years, GameStop was still taking $5 pre-orders for Dead Island 2 with whatever December 31st, whatever the number of the year was. And
that's crazy.
I followed this for so long. Like I wanted Dead Island 2 to be great, but I knew when they gave it to Dam Busters, I'm like, Homefront: The Revolution is not a good game. And I know there's people who like it, and I put up a poll: which one do you like more?
I played it on Game Pass.
I mean, I didn't finish it, Mag.
For free. It was on Game Pass for free. I just kind of blew through it, and I was like, all right, that was all right. It wasn't like I wouldn't have paid for it. I mean, I know technically we paid for it through the subscription, but not really. By the way, just a quick note here. Some other people in the chat are talking about here that it is on sale in other countries, like Australia. It's 50% off. So it's even cheap. Like it's $50 Australian. Light 2? Yes. So obviously,
I would say don't skip Dying Light 2. Like it just overstays welcome to the end. It feels. I don't want to talk about Dead Island Dying Light too long, but the melee combat in Dead Island 2 that just came out last week doesn't feel as great as the smack and bang of Dying Light 2. And I'm surprised I didn't mix up the names as I said that. What's that?
I bought both. So
good.
I bought both.
I have both.
I mean, why not? It was $39.99 Canadian. Like I said, that's about $29.99 American. So it's cheap as heck, and then has all those updates and everything on there. Plus, I got Dead Island 2. So I got them both. So I got my zombie fix for a while, right? So I'm good. And listen, anybody in the chat, go out and get Dying. Like I said, I trusted Wilmy 100%. When he said he played through with that game 4 times, I'm like, you got to be kidding me, Wilmy, because Wilmy buys everything. He buys every game on the planet. Like, he does it because the guy's got like 7-8 consoles in the house, whatever. He buys everything, and that's and that. Although I'm slowly, I remember when Wilmy first said that like a couple of years ago. He's like, "Oh, I got like 7-8 consoles in the house." I'm like, dude. Then I start looking around my house. I don't think it's much different with the kids.
Yeah, we have like 9. A couple, one or two of them aren't like really used. But yeah, we've got a lot of consoles. Hey, let me give a shout out to. I updated the list last week. I went through the channel membership and the Patreon stuff. I did 3 giveaways last week because I was a couple months behind. So shout out to Macbound and Assassin and somebody else I can't remember, but I think they might be on the list. I'll probably end up reading them, actually. They ended up winning the giveaways, but I want to give a shout out to Mark Carwell, KY Bob, Assassin Lupa, Jazzy Noob, Ricky Falon, Manic Master 6, Jason Lawan, Mo B, Lord Senator, William Riggs, Matt Burns, William Lanzo, Udon Exotic, Nano Polymyth, Suicide King, Robert Red Wolf, Robert Jackson, Lord Starkiller, Dante Moody, Betamax, Dark CMF Gaz, Reek Havoc, Zenner White, Devaro2 Gaming, V Simco, Assassin, Poochie Dub, Larry Thatcher, Hargeet Chani, TK Chillin, Raiden Blaine, Acute Perspective, True 77, Rootskin for the Biscuit, Mike and Forward, Red Saurus, Dave UK01, Quince Harmony, Attitude Ear, Pesky Krogan, Pen, Pineapple, Apple Pen. Some of these people have changed their names, Mag. So when I go into the list, I'm like, wait, who's this? Trell Roberts, Neil B, Boba Fett Gaming, Macbound, Meat Puppet, Kung Fu Hot Dog, Xbox International, Alan Aldetre, we'll get that one. Jedi J Goalie, Gamer by Choice, Rippin' One, Highlander, Havoc, and Zimic. Shout out to a lot of these people who I talked to on Xbox Live as well. But yeah, we really appreciate you. Mag, we're going like 100 miles an hour because we want to talk about Dead Island.
Always.
But we've got some cool stuff to talk about today. Some new hints into what Xbox Game Studios is doing, some updates to the Xbox console, some updates to Redfall that are actually positive, and a couple exclusive games that got some updates through LinkedIn, and some weird bad news that end up being good. And then we'll talk a little bit about what's going on with ABK, because that's this week. This week, like, one of the big bombshells is going to drop, Mag. I'm sure you've heard about it.
Oh my God! Well, yeah, and you know what's going to happen? It's going to end up happening right in the smack in the middle of me doing the primetime gaming on Wednesday, guaranteed. So, or somewhere in that region, isn't it that day? It's that day. It's Wednesday. Oh dear Lord in heaven!
It's a CMA in the UK, so when you're doing primetime gaming, it'll be about midnight over there in the UK. So it'll happen before. It'll be a big day for Boom and the panel on the show. But I mean, it's not the be all end all for those of you who don't follow everything, right?
It's pretty damn close, Colt.
It's one of the biggest roadblocks is gonna go ahead and say, yeah, it was our idea. Let's approve it. We'll get into that too.
The last one is Wrath of Khan. She's the only one left, and Dr. Afra, I saw what you wrote. He's right. He goes, Dead Island. How much does it cost a boot? And I'm like, okay, all right, I see you. Anyways. Yes, we'll get into that when we get into that. By the way, I reported your poll here. Which one is better, Dying Light 2 or
what's it looking like?
2? Well, no, I reported you. So I reported you to YouTube to have it closed. So
wait a minute, you don't want Dead Island to be a better game?
No, I just figured. But I figure what ends up happening is that you're enticing the gore war.
Yeah, I am.
I can't. You know what? I can't see the result here. The result it keeps skipping on me, so I can't really see.
Okay, right now it is 48% say Dying Light 2 is better. 52% say Dead Island 2. So it's basically split down the middle, which is
buy both,
cool.
folks. So buy both, folks. They're cheap.
Buy both.
This is the time. Well, Dead Island's not cheap, but the other one.
If you're not sure, right? If you're not sure, Mag, if you want to bash zombies over the head with a lead pipe, definitely buy Dying Light 2. It does more, and this isn't a review, but you do a lot more different things in Dying Light 2, and it's an open world, and Dead Island 2 is more of your linear, explorable area. So all those sound enticing to me.
Both.
I like both.
I love zombie stuff. I love zombie stuff. So throw it all at me. Days Gone, Dead Rising, Dead Island, Dead this, Dead that, Dead Horse. I don't care. Dead everything. Just give it to me. I'm in for all of it. So I'm good.
Dead Horse
and I love
like
zombie
a good
movies
game.
too, man. I know. Just don't kick it. Anyhow.
Yeah, we got Brad Ward Fight, who's been a channel member for a month and has the handsome Craig picture. He says, the channel member badge. He says, it's Xbox Game SZN. Let's hope for no more Craigs. It's Xbox Game SZN. SCN. I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
He says, let's hope for no more Craigs. Have a great show. One more to 100. Yeah, one more episode. Book and Beard, welcome to the channel membership with the Joanna Dark, Perfect Dark channel member badge for being in there in the first month. And like I said earlier, you'll get entered into the pool and the pot for merch giveaways each month, and you'll get early access. So when I finish a video in the evening, I usually put it up about 10 o'clock at night when everything's all settled, and you can check it out. And you're like, first in the comment section. Lady Foxfire Gaming, who's been around in the community longer than I have. Thank you so much for the super. Yes. She says, good luck topping last week's episode. Fire, laugh out loud, just kidding. Just want to thank you both for the info and the jokes. And she says, be nice. So, all right. I like it. Thank you so much, Lady Foxfire.
Excellent. Lady Foxfire, I did a couple shows with her. Yeah,
you have?
Go for it, brother.
Yeah, she's
yes, she's wonderful.
I've been following her since 2017, and I don't think we've not been on a show together. But yeah, great people in this community. Just when you think everyone's evil. Maybe that's true. Sith Lord, who's been a channel member for 5 months, says, I'm glad my favorite gentlemen are alive. Oh, Meg, he calls us gentlemen.
Thank you. That's a lie, but carry on.
He says, spent the day in the hospital, had issues at dialysis. All good now, he says. The doctor said I need 2 hours of ecstasy. He's like, oh, you need 2 hours of Mag and Colt stat.
That's
2
what
hours,
doctors
not 2 Cs.
always. Yeah, doctors always prescribe 2 hours of this show. So you got to, you know what? Anybody, it's good for your health. You know, an apple away keeps the doctor away. No, it's XNC. Okay, that's what's going to make it. That's what's going to keep you going.
An old geriatric gamers to give you the gaming news. Let's talk about the first bit of news that I hope you didn't miss because you were working so much. But Unrecord is this amazing looking indie game that once I saw it, I told the world on social media that follow me that Unrecord harkens to the description of how the initiative said Perfect Dark's camera and movement is supposed to be. It's supposed to be not just a first-person shooter. It's going to feel like a body cam, like Zero Dark 30 type aesthetic. And this game, let's set aside Perfect Dark for just a second, Mag. I want to ask you about the visuals, just the first impressions of Unrecord that you saw, and I hope people know what I'm talking about. I hope you know.
Yeah.
Mag, what did you see it? Do you know?
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Give me your first impressions. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so here's the thing. What I'm thinking when I saw this, and it was playing in Unreal Engine 5, if I'm not mistaken, right? So we had that going already, and so I'm like, all right, so it's got that ultra realism and everything else. Now, I thought it was pretty breathtaking. It was pretty wild. I'm looking at it going, my God, this looks real. Looks like a GoPro right in the thing, or a body cam on whatever. And so that looked fine. But here's the thing. This is something we were talking about actually on last night's show with Wilmy, is that we're like, how long can we maintain this before we start getting like motion sickness or something with the movement, right? So I'm wondering, like, when you play, for example, Call of Duty is nowhere near what real life is going to be, right? Like if a first-person shooter and the way that they walk around is nowhere near what it's going to be like if you were handed an M4 and go, all right, go over there and go kill stuff.
This is heavy.
That's not how it works. Yeah, that's not how it works, right? Yeah. And so when you look at those when you watch some of those body cam videos and stuff, after like a couple of minutes, don't you get a little sick because the way it sways and whatever else? And I would think that the aiming reticle would be, because of the angle it's on, would be more difficult to sort of, you know what I mean? Because it's not up front and center. Like a first-person shooter, it's like this, right? And you're getting that sort of zoomed in look, and it's centered, based on, of course, your field of view, right? So it's set. If everybody in the chat's trying to, kind of getting what I'm talking about here. Now the body cam thing, it's sort of like the camera's down here, so therefore it almost seems like you're on screen aiming,
if I can. Yeah, I got it right here.
You know what I'm saying? It looks like you're aiming from the hip almost, and I could see that being really distracting. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. This is the kind of thing where it is damn impressive. I got to tell you, it is impressive. But is it going to translate well in terms of us being able to play it? Are they going to maybe have like a compromise where it is like a sort of body cam thing, but let's say you press the left trigger and aim, it goes into more a Call of Duty style of like where just kind of reticle shows up in the middle of the screen and pulls the camera up a bit. Because if the camera's down and you're trying to aim up, it's going to be incredibly awkward. But I'm sure that, I'm sure they're figuring it out, because I don't think they're going to be like, yeah, just, let's just make a crappy game. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So I think the immersion itself would be pretty wild. But like I said, I want to see how the shooting mechanics work, considering that that's what basically this is.
I mean, you're missing things like UI and targeting reticle, like you said. And I got it on screen now that you'll be able to see it when you're kind of watching. It's funny, the way I do a show, sometimes I'll decide to do something and I don't have a producer in the background that can like throw in all this stuff on a separate machine. But, thank you for bearing with me, because stuff is all weird from the glitches we had last week. But yeah, I mean, this was like an elaborate hoax last week. And Destin Legary on Twitter, he was like, I am really trying to figure out if someone's just put some UI elements over real footage of some guys playing guns in an old warehouse, because I watched it several times. I'm like doing this, I'm like, Meg, there's no way this is a video game. And I didn't want to be that guy. I know. Like, this is fake. Oh, so fake, mid. I want to give the benefit of the doubt. And I just waited. Well, the next day, the lead director or one of the lead designers for this studio called something Drama Studios. Drama Studios, I think what they're called. The lead designer put a video on Twitter of him in engine in Unreal Engine 5 showing the breakdown, saying, no, this is not video footage. This is actual in-game. Yes. And boy, oh boy, are we in for some scary times if you're playing something.
Hey, man,
it's
down.
Like, if this looks this real, like, will this make you feel a little uncomfortable? Like, you can shoot video game characters all day long. I can shoot stormtroopers, or I can shoot, knock zombies with a pipe. But this feels like some dude ran into the warehouse and goes, whoops.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing, like, you imagine like a Resident Evil I know they've done the first person thing in Resident Evil, whatever, but to put something like maybe supernatural in there on top of it, like with this as a template. I'm not saying this game specifically. Like, if they launch this thing and it really takes off, right? This could be the template for something moving forward. You can release, like, let's say, a offshoot of Battlefield and do it in this kind of fashion, or maybe even like a side. Because at this point, or in the next point, in the next couple of years, Microsoft's going to be owning Call of Duty anyway. Why not make an offshoot Call of Duty in this style and have it like, you know what I mean, like almost like a DLC in this kind of style? I see some people in the chat, by the way, they're like, it's basically 50-50. Some people are saying it's making me nauseous, and some people are saying this will work out. We just need to play it. So it's going to be very interesting. How this is all going to work in the end. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We could talk about it till we're blue in the face. We're going to play it.
It's going to be a real thing. I'm
going to play it.
Here's like, there's a lot I have to cover on this. I'm not trying to remember everything, but one thing you don't get in video games is camera wobble or camera shake that you would get from handheld cameras. You don't get that. You get like the perfect steady cam. And for anybody like Red Wolf who might be watching, who knows their way around physical equipment that video records, this has all of the telltale signs of digital video being shot with a handheld or a GoPro. It's uncanny how real it is.
Holt, I got a question for you. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Do you think that Perfect Dark is going for this sort of template?
That's exactly what I was about to say next, Mag.
Because we're reading each other's minds.
Well, I hope so. Okay. I hope so, because we hooked into the nanites in our brains before the show started. But
resistance is futile.
Yeah. The very first thing I said on social media was, this is what the initiative described of the camera and movement in Perfect Dark. And there was all those people, Mag, they were like, bro, ain't no way that Perfect Dark's going to look like this. It ain't going to look this good, bro. No way, bro. And I was like, okay, I didn't say that it was going to look like this. I said camera movement. It was, only a sentence and a half in the tweet. It's not that hard to read.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny that Xbox is in this situation right now where this small indie studio can create something that looks so realistic But then they say Crystal Dynamics and the Initiative, a AAA studio with $100 million budget or whatever it's going to be for Perfect Dark, if they wanted, couldn't make the game look like this. Now, I can understand that the aesthetics of Perfect Dark are probably not meant to look realistic. They're probably meant to look more stylized to kind of make a bridge from the old game. So yeah, I wouldn't think that the Initiative, Crystal Dynamics, and Perfect Dark. Let me turn this off. I'm doing this all kind of on the fly. Sorry that it was blank there for a second. I wouldn't assume that they were going for the photorealistic thing, the hyper-realistic shooter, but that motion should feel very similar. And Meg, what if they can do the handheld thing, but then they just go in and they hone down the camera shake and keep it more fluid? Does that reduce the? That's
what I'm saying.
The motion sickness.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they need to find a compromise so that it translates better for a gamer as opposed to just an experience, right? So it's one thing to watch something for a few minutes, or like even one of those like those found footage horror movies. I can watch them, but they're like after a while it gets agitating. I'm just like, come on, man. Like
Blair Witch back in '99 didn't make me motion sick
like this,
but it
doesn't
make
me motion sick. But it bought like after a while you're just like, oh my god, please stop. You know, like, I mean, but I get it. But the thing is, like, can they translate it in a way that there's like I said, a happy medium where you can get that 60 FPS, 120 FPS sort of vibe going with it, and then, but at the same time, give you the aesthetic of like a body cam kind of idea that you're sort of the GoPro, you're in the action, so to speak, right? So that would immerse you more into the experience. So give us like down the middle. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Replay of you doing this.
Oh yeah, I was doing that. That's what it looks like when I'm watching one of these found footage horror movies. It's ridiculous. After like a couple of minutes, I'm like, quick, we got to run over here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, and then you know the guy with the camera's just bouncing it around like this, and I'm like, dude, just stop it. It's like, like the early Star Treks when they get hit by a torpedo and everybody goes like this.
Right.
You know
I've watched so many hours of Cops, and those guys back in the 90s, like their cameras were this big and they had to run.
Geez, yeah.
And it was just like,
can you imagine?
It was crazy. Sean LeBrie in the chat asks a really good question about Perfect Dark. He says,
yes.
Do we know if Perfect Dark is first person or third? I don't remember. We don't know.
First person.
But it's
Didn't they say first person?
They did, but my assumption and prediction is that, like Perfect Dark Zero, the second game, that we would see Joanna Dark in third person when she goes into cover, much like you do with Adam Jensen in Deus Ex, Human Revolution, and Mankind Divided. What do you think about that?
What was that other one? That makes sense. Also, what the hell was that game called? Rainbow Six Vegas.
Vegas.
And
Las Vegas. Or Vegas.
Yeah. Those ones. Same thing. It was first person. And then when they went into cover, it turned into a third person cover shooter. That kind of thing. And then when you aimed, it went back to first. Yeah, I could see that because then it gives you an identification with the character. Like you can identify with the character that you're playing. You're like, oh, there she is. Right. So you see the character, you identify with it. You feel more in tune with their experience. So you need to have that sometimes. Whereas, I mean, I get the Call of Duty thing, whatever. But like, you know, you don't get too attached to these characters because you never really see them. You know what I'm saying? You just hear their voice. Once in a while, they'll say something stupid like Sarge. You know what I mean? Like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why they change characters so quickly from chapter to chapter. But if you're going to play an entire game as Joanna Dark, I want to see her. I want to see what she looks like. I want to see. I mean, other than outside of cutscenes, right?
Yeah,
so you're right.
Sean the Breeze being a smart, he goes smart like he says. So it's second person, second person perspective. I love it.
There you go.
I love it.
That's great.
Hey, shout out if you guys are here hanging out with us. At least you like the show a little bit. Show the support by hitting the like button. We're on YouTube Live, and then we're on Spotify and Apple, Google Podcasts on demand at any time you want. Washing the dishes, mowing the lawn, mowing the dog, whatever you do, we're there for you. So thanks everybody. I'm keeping an eye on the chat. We've got Hargeet Chani opens up a can of worms. We've been talking about this. I got to cover this briefly because this is really interesting. I made this infographic. It was up on the podcast page, or up on the podcast screen a couple weeks ago for like a half an hour. Meg and I talked about the reviewed first-party games from Xbox and PlayStation. And Hargeet did this super elaborate. Now, Hargeet's a Ivy League educated, super nice guy, and he's very smart. He did an Excel spreadsheet that broke down Xbox's first-party games, the games that they are published first-party, but other studios made them, like Minecraft Legends, Minecraft Dungeons, As Dusk Falls, from this entire generation. He took PlayStation's games. He made a different separated list, kicking out all the remasters, adding in the remasters, trying to see where Xbox actually sits since they've had this deficit of putting out first-party games. He sends this chat that says, open critic comparison of Xbox versus PlayStation versus Nintendo. For first-party only release games, not with or without remasters, he says, Xbox has an aggregate review score of their games at 84.9 or 85%, up to 86.5% without remasters. PlayStation has an aggregate score. It's kind of hard to, if you can see the chat, this will help, but PlayStation is at an 84, 85%. Without remasters, they're at an 84%. The Switch, Mag. Switch's first-party games, everyone says that Nintendo makes the best games. They sell the most. They're the highest rated. The Nintendo Switch aggregates on all their first-party games at a whopping 80% or 77%. Now, all the other numbers I told you like might go over your head or one ear out the other, but according to Hargeet's calculations, Xbox has a 0.5 to 1% lead over PlayStation in quality of first-party games.
Well, it's those. I can tell you which games they are exactly. It was Flight Simulator and the Forza Horizon games. Those alone pushed everything over the top because those were in the '90s. That kind of toppled everything over the thing. Now it doesn't always translate to what's popular with the people, right? Because not everybody was playing. What's it called? Flight Simulator, great game or whatever. Obviously not for everybody. People will especially the great unwashed, as we like to call them in the Royal Kingdom. It just basically will go for the big names. Your Harry Potters, your Spider-Mans, your whatever, right? Like you're filling the Marvel blanks, whatever. By the way, Hargeet is not a nice guy. He is a supervillain. He just hasn't revealed himself yet. I'm telling you now, he's basically Dr. Doom. Hargeet, I'm on to you.
Titan Drago says, Criminy, what's up, y'all? Shout out to Titan Drago, good friend.
Another scumbag. Let me tell you something. Okay,
Titan Drago's a villain.
Immediately.
Titan Drago is a lovable villain.
He's not a lovable villain. He's just the villain. But Hargeet, he is Dr. Doom, and he's going to reveal himself one day. I'm telling you, it's all part of his plan. I got you, baby.
I got to shout out Frank Kent, who says, these are statistics that only you would care about if you're losing, which is so hilarious that a fan base would hail more sales and a slightly less quality of games overall. Just take it as it is. Xbox needs more AAA games. They need to release more frequently. They cannot go an entire year like they did last year. PlayStation needs more multiplayer games, and we won't even get into it. They're making 10 of them. They're buying studios just so they can make what Xbox has been dominating for 20 years, the multiplayer scene. So it is interesting. It's all about perception. And I will easily admit that when I look at Xbox's released games from first party this generation, they've got those standbys, like the really great ones that have always been great, like you said, like the Forza Horizons and some of those established franchises, but they need to deliver those new games, and those are coming this year and next year, and it's going to be a whole different ball game. So shout out to Hargeet for doing those numbers. He said he wants to kind of put those up, maybe make it into a video or something, but it is pretty interesting.
Well, Hargeet did say something that he actually didn't add Flight Simulator in there because it was made by Asobo.
It was made by Asobo, yeah, so that's a 92 that didn't go in.
There you go. And I assumed that was not. I see somebody else wrote in here said that Hogwarts is a multiplat. I know that. I was just using it as an example of a buzzword as a buzzword kind of game. You know what I mean? Where people gravitate towards those things as opposed to whatever. But anyways, it didn't matter. The point is that he didn't even add Flight Simulator, which was a 92 you said, right?
Yeah, that's one of those that keeps Xbox at the top. And we were talking, Mag, Yeah, I don't want to bore you guys with all the statistics, but Hargeet and I were talking at length on Xbox Live while we were crunching numbers. I was feeding him games. He was thinking of them, he was thinking other ones. And it went on. And he's like, I need to be as fair as possible. And I think Rand was in the chat with us for a little bit as well. And we were like, should this count? And we were really trying to be as fair as possible. So there wasn't some imaginary reason why Xbox would be on top, because he said he assumes that Xbox will always have higher rated games. Kind of surprises me the most. Paris in the chat says Xbox has no games. Xbox is doomed. Crying emoji. That was just been a funny situation that has been on social media. Let me jump to that really quick. Jeff Grubb does his podcast, and he made this passing statement, which the next day it turns out it's a passing statement, but for certain people it was the nail in the coffin. But he said that Hi-Fi Rush was, I'll just kind of paraphrase. He said Hi-Fi Rush didn't meet sales expectations. It didn't do what they were hoping it would do. And then he said that Xbox leadership is not pleased with the state of Xbox at this point. And when he said that, I go, well, I mean, Hi-Fi Rush Shadow dropped. It's in Game Pass. There's no physical copy. It's a smaller game. I wouldn't expect it to sell 3 million or 2 million or 5 million, but it was a great breakout success. And so Aaron Greenberg stepped up and said, do I have his quote here? No, I don't. But he said Hi-Fi Rush was a success for the team. It met the metrics we were looking for, which is probably a boost in Game Pass and people online playing on the Xbox platform. And Jeff Grubb said the next day, quote, I was just trying to say I heard Hi-Fi Rush didn't make the money it was expected to make. But to be clear, I don't really know how Microsoft measures success. This is just a small passing statement in a larger conversation. It wasn't meant to make people worry about Hi-Fi Rush. And he was like really ticked off because people dogpile on things like this all the time. And we know how Xbox measures success. In fact, Jeff should remember, Phil and Yoshida are very adamant about monthly active users is the true measure of success on the platform. And Aaron Greenberg said that there were metrics that we measure that Hi-Fi Rush was successful in. Did you finish that game, Mag?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Now here's the thing. They're going to measure it just like we talked about last week. We talked about the way that the Netflix model, for example. I think I talked about it here. I talked about it on Crossfire for like a minute. I was trying to get at is that the point is that they measure things in terms of if they attract new subs based on the release. Of course, they want to keep the player base happy that's already there, right? The subscribers that are already there. You want to keep them engaged. You want to keep them subscribing. That's fine. So let's just say, for argument's sake, it's 25 million. You want to keep that 25 million. Let's say they drop Hi-Fi Rush. It gets some buzz, get some news out there. People get on there. And let's say there's a jump in subscriptions by, I don't know, I'll just make up a number, 500,000. Okay? So they get a jump of 500,000. They look at their metric and say, okay, a game of, like a smaller game or whatever, we expect 300 to 500,000 subs, on this release of a game. They do the same thing in Netflix with a movie or a show. That's why they cancel shows that are good, even if the shows are great, like amazing shows. You're like, why did they cancel it after 3 seasons? Like, that show is amazing or whatever, highly rated, is because it stopped bringing in new subs, right? So they do the same thing with Game Pass. So I could see them with Game Pass taking something like that and say, okay, listen, Hi-Fi Rush, smaller title, it's a new IP, so it doesn't have any established name out there that they can market. You know what I mean? Anything like that. It's not like Lara Croft. Everybody, a lot of people know who that is and whatever, right? But they don't know who this character was. And I forgot his name already, for crying out loud. But anyways, the point is, let's say their metric. Is that what it was?
Chai or Chi? I played through the whole game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I think it was Chai.
It was Chai. It was Chai. I know the spelling CHIA. AI, I mean, yeah. I love the game. Let me say for those people who are like, what are the metrics? Like, well, we know Xbox doesn't give sales figures. They don't give sales figures for console or games. But I could tell you with utmost confidence that Game Pass was doing this during 2022. It was a flat line. And then in January when they shadow dropped, actually probably in January when they did that developer direct, they saw an uprise. And then when they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush, they saw what went up, which wasn't going up for 12 months, other than Plague's Tale Requiem. That's a measure of success. And I can tell you, sorry, Meg, I can tell you,
no,
let me relate this to a personal thing that you may go, oh, come on, Colt. I go through these spells for a week or so where I don't make a video. I just can't do it. I'm like, I'm not feeling it or whatever. And I finally do. My metrics are like that. They're like Game Pass 2022. Right. And then when I drop a video, I get a certain spike angle that goes up. And if the video's ranked well, which you know, the analytics tell you all this extra information that just destroys your self-esteem. If there's a nice ranking on my video and I see that uptick, I can say to my friends, like I'll say to Rand, this video performed really well and I feel really good about it. And he's like, well, it didn't get 1 million views. And I'm like, okay, which kind of goes back to the joke. Like, would you rather have your game have more sales? I was like, I bought a car. Do I want it to be the highest selling car or do I want it to be the highest ranking or highest rated car? Well, I definitely want that car to be a higher ranking than I want it to be a Ford Taurus, which was the most high sold car in the 90s. And I don't want that car at all. So,
yeah, exactly.
But PlayStation's exclusives are fantastic. They're all right there in the low 80s to the right up to the 90s. A couple of them are over the 90s, just like Xbox. Like, those are all really great games. So you can't lose. You can't lose if you play on both platforms. That, I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat that, but Mag, that's crazy. Hi-Fi Rush. Yeah. I'm glad we played it. Let me
go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that last thing. The metric could be, as I was starting to say, but risk it. Calm down in the chat over there. I see him. That you're going to get to him in a minute. So I'm thinking like a metric for that. Maybe like, let's say 200,000 to 300,000 to 500,000. Maybe that's a little lofty. And then you look at a bigger game. Let's say like a Starfield. You need at least I would expect what you would get in sales. Give or take, maybe a little bit less because you've already got a lot of the hardcore already subscribed, right? Yeah. So you would want somewhere to, like, I would say at least a big game like that, 3 to 5 million. If you're not moving 3 to 5 million subs on a game like Starfield, I consider that not a failure. I would consider that a disappointment because if you look at, for example, what Sony's going to expect in the fall of this year. They're going to expect to move minimum 3 to 5 million consoles because of Spider-Man 2, right? And I'm not talking about the bundle because I know that that's a scumbag way of doing things because, like Horizon Forbidden West, even though it was my game of the year 2022, it didn't really sell well, right? But then all of a sudden they bundled it and they go, look at it, sold like crazy. And I'm like, because you forced everybody the only PS5s you could get were bundled with the game. So they force you to do it. You don't even have to numbers. Understood.
You don't even have to sell a PlayStation 5. Like they're still selling on their own. And some of my hardcore Xbox fan friends get so upset when I say this. I'm like, you have to remember, the Xbox Series S and X are selling really well next to a PS5 that is a mandated console. If you want to play those games, you have to own a PS5. You do not have to own a Series S or X. Only the console gamers are going to buy one. Like, anybody can say, well, I already have a PC. Do I need to buy a Series X? And Phil's like, no, you don't. We want you to be on Xbox Live. We want you to buy the game, or we want you to sub to Game Pass. And I would say that ecosystem. I'll bet you Tango Gameworks was the one that was maybe that was not happy with the sales. Like, they probably figured, we got this little AA knockout hit game that we're going to sell, and they're probably thinking they were going to sell 1 million in the first quarter or the first month, and we're almost in a quarter for the game, but they probably figured, because when I put out a video, I have an expectation of where the numbers are. It's anybody in sales can say, we're coming into the spring. I can sell this many shoes, right? And they didn't meet that mark. But they have to get used to, Tango Gameworks has to get used to a new metric where maybe half of their sales are going to come from Game Pass. And that'll be reciprocated, but yeah, it's
but you know what? They gotta take revenue from both sides. That's why ABK is so important. ABK is so important not because they need Call of Duty. They don't. That's got nothing to do with it. What they need is that in order to keep these games going, just like Sony was going to do with the with the Call of Duty, what they used the profits from Call of Duty, the 30% they took from Call of Duty sales, okay, they used that to fund their first-party games to keep them going, to keep people coming into the ecosystem and buying more consoles, right? And then keep them buying more software down the road. And that's what Sony's measure of success has always been, and they continue to do it, and they're going to continue to do it. Right? So, but the thing is, what I could see them doing is that ABK is so important that they could take the 70% now, because now they're the publisher, right? So they get a 70% of the profit from games sold outside of the ecosystem. They take that money, and then they could do that, and then they could fund these games like your Hi-Fi Rushes and everything else, and of course fund their first-party games. And by doing
they're going to be printing money when the ABK.
They're printing money.
Do you mind if I get naked?
Well, do whatever you need to do, man. I mean, if we're gonna get naked, I'm getting naked. We're all gonna get crazy in here. Who knows what's gonna happen in the second hour of the show?
Hey, Frank Kent says
kind of,
counting on Game Pass
yes.
measurement is a flimsy thing. He says, no, Frank Kent, it's the future. It is the future. Now, remember, Frank, at home, you subscribe to probably 6 different subscriptions to get your music, your TV, or your movies. Or a combination of all 3 of those. That is the future. The days of when we used to love cracking open our CD case or buying a DVD or Blu-ray and bringing it home, putting it on the shelf, like that's really kind of like become a little bit uncool unless you're a total hipster. I don't know. I'm kind of kidding around, but it is the future. And buckle up, Frank. If you're a PlayStation fan, PlayStation is slowly warming up the water for the frog in the pot of water because they are going to be doing the same thing because that is where the money is. A residual revenue stream is a renewable residual revenue stream is big money. And guess what? Consumers love it because we get one heck of a deal. One heck of a deal.
I think it's an amalgamation of both. Like, for example, if you look at, again, I'm going to mirror Hollywood because Hollywood is a great example that we can always lean up against the game industry. You've got the subscription services in there too. Some do great, some falter, right? And then some lose a lot of subs based on whatever. But the thing is, at the same time, they're still releasing movies in the theater, and if the movie's hot, they will make billions off those movies. So they're still going to have those couple of movies that make the billions. Like, for example, look at this year. You've got Hogwarts Legacy, not in any subscription service, but it sold, 15-something million, however many million copies it sold, right? So they've made hundreds of millions of dollars, and then you've got the other, those other games. I think Starfield is going to also sell millions of copies on top of the subscription. So you're going to take the best of both worlds. So what I'm seeing here, like I said, from Microsoft's point of view, is that if one avenue is failing, the other ones will pick up the slack and it will constantly just keep regenerating itself. So let's say, for instance, let's say Game Pass sags, okay? Let's say the subs sag for a bit. Like last year, okay? But all of a sudden, you get games like Starfield or Fable or whatever, and they're also sold on PC as well. And people, let's say a lot of people just start buying the games and copying the games. Well, the copies of those games sold, or even Call of Duty, whatever else, those games all sell. They will take the profits from those, and then they'll be able to pick up the slack for, let's say, lacking subscriptions. Or, like I said, you keep sending those bigger games that you got on the Sony side of things, like Call of Duty and everything else. So Microsoft's still going to take that 70% home and be able to exactly. Yeah. It is an endless revenue stream from all angles, and that's what they're trying to do. They're literally trying to create an impenetrable shield that they can just be a self-sustaining beast, and at some point wouldn't even need Microsoft anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you're illustrating the point. You're illustrating the point really well that people like to look at Game Pass like an island. They're like, it's unsustainable. The devs don't get paid. And it's like, dude, pay attention, bro. Game Pass is not the only thing that Xbox is made up. They're making money on consoles. They're making money on Xbox Live. They're making money on every microtransaction that comes from every game, whether they own it or not. They're making money on game sales. They're making money on physical sales. They're making money. It's all part of the scene. And Phil sat back like 6 months ago, and he's like, people are looking into my pockets. Like, Phil, you all right there? You sure you're not losing money with Game Pass? And Phil's like, what do you think? Game Pass is all by itself? Like, it's part of this web of bringing games to people. That's that doesn't sound flimsy to me, Meg.
You're basically plugging up holes in a ship, right? So like if you see a hole over here, okay, put this over here to plug that up. All of a sudden, the next thing you know, you've got an impenetrable. You got a ship that's not going to sink, right? And it's going to be self-sustaining. And like I said, eventually it's going to get to the point where it's completely self-sustaining. That it will no longer need the support of Microsoft. It will be its own entity that is going to be just. I mean, it's a division of Microsoft, but it could theoretically be. Right? It could theoretically be that. Anyways, you got a mountain of super chats. You got to get to them.
Yeah, we do. And Xbox does publish the numbers, and they wait until they get to a milestone. Like, they were supposed to be at 30,000 last year when Redfall and Starfield weren't delayed back in that instance. So they would have announced that 30 million. So once they hit a milestone, they'll make that announcement. That'll be like their moment, like, hey, look. But when you're sitting at 28 or 29 million for almost an entire year, just like me, I'm not going to say, wow, I'm so happy how my channel's doing when I didn't grow. But, it's just, it's all jokes. Love all you guys. Hey, we got Book and Beard with his first super chat, I think. What a great little icon he drew up. He says, when talking about Xbox having nothing to show for their acquisitions, people seem to forget that In Exile and Obsidian our RPG devs. Give them time. I'm going to dig into a couple other studios today. Not those two, but they have been in the news. And we really got to find out if they're going to reveal, like logo reveal this year. I don't know. We're coming soon. Highlander 001, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Highlander. He says the European Commission is poised to name Fiona Morton, Microsoft's economic advisor on the acquisition of Activision, will reportedly become the next chief of economist of the European Commission. Not the most exciting news, but I don't know. Maybe somebody in there who can actually explain to her constituents and the people that she works with how this industry works, because we're going to get in that just a second. Dead Planet with a $5 says, Colt, what's your take on people that say that the COVID had no effect on anyone else's game development besides Xbox, and those who say no, work from home, HB2 makes 2023. HB2. No way Hellblade 2 makes 2023. There's a little bit to unpack there, Dead. Everyone always says, like Xbox will say, COVID and work from home really affected our productivity or our ability to release games on time. And of course, people like Mag and I are like, did it? Come on. Like everyone else didn't have this problem. I'm just going to assume, and then I'll give this to Mag to give his assumption. I'm going to assume that Xbox and Microsoft were more, lenient and more flexible and allowed more people to work from home longer than other industries, namely PlayStation and Sony. Sure. That's my assumption. Meg, what do you think the disparity is between work from home and those two platforms?
See, the thing is, I think the biggest issue with what was going on with all that, it was the communication issues. Right, and that's what caused a lot of the problems, right? And I think that because of that really slowed things down to the point where you weren't able. Yes, you could communicate, obviously, just like we are right now. You and I are sitting here talking, right? Yeah. And we're like, all right, we're doing this, that, and the other thing. But like, it's not the same as you and I sitting next to each other in a cubicle, and I lean over and I'm like, Colt, check this out. And you come over here and you come over to my side, and you're like. And then you come over to my side, and I take a bite of your sandwich.
Yeah, looking over your shoulder, and you're like, look, and you're moving, panning around. Yeah,
and then you grab the keyboard. And go, hold on a second. You know what I mean? And then you start going, you program something else, and then the character does something different, or something different happens in the background. You go, and I'm like, damn it, I didn't think of that. And then I'm like, all right, cool, let's work on that. Let's do this. And then I'll do the same. You know what I'm saying? Multiply that by hundreds of thousands of people. And that is what really caused the issues in the long run, right? And then, of course, we saw the results of that. And we saw the results of that even a year afterwards. Phil warned everybody. And he wasn't just talking about Xbox. He was talking about all the different companies. He goes, there's going to be a lot of delays, not now. You're going to see it a year from now. And that's what happened in 2022. Of course, it basically happened to Xbox almost because, Sony was still able to squeak out a couple of big games there in 2022, right? With Horizon and God of War. So they managed to pull that off. But Xbox got nailed across hard.
They also had really great looking games that were just, upgraded, expanded, amazing. Like what Horizon Forbidden West. Like they already had the foundation and they built it and took it to the next level visually. And God of War Ragnarok is God of War 2018 with a whole new area and all new storyline. So they didn't have to build something from scratch. That's the problem with Xbox. No. They're in this COVID delay. Which I don't even refer to the COVID delay, but we went through the thing for 2 years, work from home, and they're also trying to bring in new studios, get them rolling, and they're either revitalizing old franchises or making brand new IPs from scratch. Right. And
that's the key, because you're creating some of them are not new IPs. Like, I mean, you look at Perfect Dark, that's an existing IP. However, what they're building is from the ground up entirely without a template. It's not like they're doing a remake of a game that already existed, like a Resident Evil, where they have the groundwork laid out. They know exactly how it's going. These guys are like literally building this from the ground up, and that's what's taking all the time.
Yeah, so Capcom already made two great remasters or reboots of Resident Evil, and all they had to do was say, let's use that same formula on Resident Evil 4. And
right. So they didn't have to change anything. They just had to. They did a magnificent job, because Resident Evil 4, even though, that's the best remake so far out of the three. I thought number 2 was the best. Number 3 was sort of mid for me, but 4 is magnificent, and I'm just like,
it's just
my
because you
God.
know when your team
But
knows what they're doing, and they can put head down and do it.
Right.
Like that's really
but they
good.
had the groundwork was laid though. You
Right.
knew all the level designs ahead of time. They just released Resident Evil 4 last year on Oculus Quest 2, so they have the layout. All they had to do was take the existing work and just say, okay, guys, make her beautiful, change the gameplay, you know what I mean? Tweak this, tweak that, take away the tank controls, add this, be able to shoot while walking, for crying out loud, stuff like that.
I mean, all that stuff. Yeah, it's like, duh, do all that stuff because it made the other two great. As far as Xbox, you have to remember 1 year before the pandemic hit, they had finally bought some actual studios. I said this like 19 times on the show. Before 2019, Xbox had 3 studios, a Halo, Gears, and a Forza studio. Pretty much. That's all they had. And in 2019, he said, we're going to buy Playground, we're going to buy Undead, we're going to buy Ninja Theory. And then they've been to work on those. And then you just have to understand, the old Xbox, that those people really aren't there anymore. They're gone. Don Matrick, Terry Myerson, like Phil has been cleaning house for 4 or 5 years. And then the past 3 years of this new Xbox Studios initiative, we're going to get into that. That's some good stuff. Let me get the supers before they decay. Yodana Kizado, who's an amazing channel mod and cracks me up every time. He says, I will not stand for this Hargeet Johnny slander. He is a scholar, a gentleman, and a pillar of this community. He's given away more games than the PSVR 2 has sold.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, I can't say anything negative about it. Mr. Realistic Motto, I see what you wrote there. He says Mag plays it on PlayStation. That's why I have game share partners. If I get a game for free, I'm playing it. All right, you wouldn't do that? Let me see someone say no to a free game. Cut it out.
I mean, I probably have to buy Dead Island 2 on PlayStation 5 so you and I could co-op. Hargy Johnny with a $10 super chat says, in his games list, Grounded, Gears 5, Game of the Year Edition, Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5, Psychonauts 2, Deathloop, The Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim Anniversary Edition, Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Ghostwire Tokyo. Those are the games, and then he continues, and I'll get to risk it. On the PlayStation side, those are the games that I just listed. Xbox, here's PlayStation's. God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Astro's Playroom, Ghost of Tsushima's Director's Cut, Returnal, Last of Us Part 1, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves, Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Forbidden West, and Call of the Mountain VR, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and
that
MLB.
Shouldn't count. That's a whole separate system. Like the Call of the Mountain, that's a VR game.
Well,
that's not a PS5 game.
Mag, the PlayStation guys wanted me to add those games in to show how many games they had for exclusives, but.
Okay, all right.
And he says MLB 21, 22, and 23, although I love those games to death. Those help keep the score down a little bit because all those games I listed off from PlayStation are all in the 80s. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
I got nothing to, I would never smack talk those games. I just don't like the way the company operates. But the games themselves and the developers, even as an avid Xbox fan or whatever, can't talk smack about these guys. The company, go right ahead. They're scumbags. But like the games themselves, the developers, except for what's that guy? What's his name? The head of Naughty Dog. I don't like him. The hell's his name?
Oh yeah,
I don't like his
Neil Druckmann.
Mr. Man Bun. There, I do not like him as a human. He's done a lot of pretty nasty things to a bunch of YouTubers that I know. Some big time YouTubers I know. He's a real Anyway, I won't say anything more about that. But the rest,
I love the people that make the games. I love the developers. But
developers
Jim
are
Ryan,
just people like us.
We laugh at
Jim Ryan. Hey! Jim Ryan is hilarious. Listen, the guy is a cartoon character. I absolutely adore him. And listen, without him, I wouldn't even have half the material I have. But you know what you got to say about this guy? The guy's doing his. People are saying they should fire him. Are you insane? He is doing the greatest job on earth. I have never seen anybody unashamedly tap dance in front of the CMA and the FTC and everything. The way he has, he should get a medal.
And all jokes aside, he is leading PlayStation through a phenomenally successful financial era, and at the cost of kind of pushing out Sean Layden, who was trying to break down the walled garden. But Risk It for the Biscuit, thank you for the super. He says literally said exactly what Mag did on Friday. And what was he referring to, since I didn't get to this soon enough?
We were talking about damn it, Risk It, help us out. We're old and I drink a lot and I have short-term memory loss. What the hell were we talking about? It had something to do with I think it had something. Oh, I don't remember. For the love of Christ. Anyways, whatever. You know what? Risk it. Hit it in the chat.
Yeah, right down there. We'll keep an eye on it, and I'll get a copy of it so I can read it.
It was on the tip of my tongue, and then as soon as it was coming out of my mouth, it just went. Bleh. I just forgot what it was I was going to say.
That's what happens. Let me see here. We had 1,000, but a couple people dropped off to use the bathroom. But thank you for being here, and thank you for the supers. Udana Kuzana says, can't wait for Forza Motorsport. I'm a car guy. I got an Alfa Romeo Stelvio and gosh darn it, I want to go hang out with Yodani, and a BMW M Coupe. I want to hear what kind of cars you guys got in the chat. And he says, Colt has his CT4. I have a Cadillac CT4 Sport, which is basically like... the best way to describe it is it's like a Honda Accord Cadillac. It's like it's a mid-sized, smaller car. It's not like a big boat. Yeah. It's a little sporty four-door, sedan, and twin turbo. Just a nice little cool car, and not like exorbitantly crazy. I know what Mag has. Mag, tell us what your main driver is.
My main car right now is a Tesla Model 3, but it's a beast. So it's a massive horsepower. Well, they measure it a little bit differently than horsepower because it's not gas, but
in gigawatts,
trust
right?
Yeah.
What is it? What does it have in equivalent horsepower?
About 500.
Yeah.
Horsepower. So it's a beast. So I've got that. That's the Tesla. I've got a 1979 Fiat Spider convertible racing car, racing edition, 2-door. That is an antique car, but it is still a beast too. You hear me coming. And actually, you know what? Colt, I'm going to send it to you in a DM. I actually did because it was in Forza Horizon 4 and Forza Horizon 5. My car, the 79
Which one?
Fiat, the Fiat Spider.
Yeah. You have to send me a picture of that.
I took a picture of it in real life from front and back, and I took a picture of it in real life. In Forza Horizon front and back. So I put it, so it's 4 pictures in one. Yeah. So I put that there, and that was great. Now, my friend owns 30% of Aston Martin, so I get to drive the Aston Martins. And because of that, so yeah, I get to do that. Some of the Aston Martins are ridiculous. The one I like the best so far I drove was the Aston Martin Vanquish. And also last summer, I was driving, also his, not mine, but it doesn't matter. I got to drive Bugatti Chiron. It's a $7 million car. So I got it. That's a 1,600 horsepower car. So when you turn this thing on, it sounds like the Batmobile from like 1989, and it's crazy. But anyway, again, not mine, but I get to drive all those cars because guilt by association, right? So
yeah,
and yeah, man, it's wild ride, man.
I'm looking at the chat, and like there's such of course there's gonna be crazy. Wide range of cars. Roy has a 1999 Pontiac Firebird. I remember that car. It is very round, very long, and those things are massive cars, massively sized for a coupe. I think it's a coupe. I put in the chat, can you drive a manual transmission? Because Mag and I at our age in the US, like you're more likely to have learned how to drive a stick. And if you're from the UK or Europe or the other side of the world, like you're very likely to have learned how to drive a manual transmission, but the young kids, Mag, a lot of people.
My first car was manual.
Same.
I had an Acura Integra SE Special Edition Racing Edition. It was a limited model, 2001 or 2000. I can't remember which one of those 2 years.
Your first car?
That was my first car. Yeah. I didn't have a car.
What did you drive in the 90s when you got your license?
Oh, just my parents' car at that time. Because my dad says...
Drive the Buick Sabre!
I was always one of those kids. I'm like, come on, Dad, can you help me buy... Of course, for some reason in the 90s, I sounded like a surfer. But it's like, come on, Dad, can you help me buy a car? My dad's like, buy your own damn car with your own money.
My mom.
So by the time I had enough money to do that, I wasn't until I was like 20-something, right? So,
yeah.
So I mean, but they let me drive their cars. Like if I was going out and dating and stuff like that, and whatever, or going out with the guys and all that kind of stuff. Of course, yeah. But most friends had cars, right? And by the way, anybody asking about how I got into those cars, the reason why is because the guy who owns 30% of Aston Martin. He's one of the co-creators of the 3 original guys who created Bitcoin. So I will not talk about who it is, but that's who he is. So that's why I could drive around those kind of cars. And we've been friends since we were little kids. So, but anyways, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's manual is because when the zombie apocalypse comes, my Tesla ain't going nowhere. Okay, it is a paperweight in about 4 days. Once the battery runs out, I'm driving a paperweight. It's gonna be Mad Max. I'm gonna shirt off. I'm gonna put war paint on. I'm gonna tear the roof off all the cars, and it's gonna be like Mad Max Thunderdome, baby. I'm gonna be driving around with the manual transmission while all the hipsters and all the other kids who can't drive at all.
They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, why is there a third pedal on the floor? Oh my gosh.
Exactly. And all the millennials are going to be like, they don't make lattes in this post-apocalyptic world. What is this crap? Do they even have soy milk? Yeah, so like it's coming, baby. And I'm going to, that's it. I'm going to run them all over. Anyways, carry on.
Yeah. The Forza Horizon 5 just released the model of car that I have, but like the super expensive racing version of it. But I was playing around with that car for hours before Dead Island came out. But Rob Crust, thank you for the super. He says, I appreciate what you do. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Rob. Percolator 9000 says, hello, everyone. Will $5 be enough to take the second shirt off of Colt? Oh, I love you, all you guys. I can't afford to pay Mag to take his shirt off. Yeah, no, Mag is a minimum of $3.8 billion.
I am an expensive prostitute. I cost a lot of money. I mean, you want me to do, hey, listen, I'll perform, I'll do whatever you want me to do, but it costs you money, especially you, Perk, double the amount. By the way, he has a drinking contest. He messaged me about this. He's like, every time I say anyways, he has to take a shot. He goes, you're going to kill me. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to kill you anyway. But I said, but before that day, yes.
Anyways,
I said, yeah, just take half a shot every time I say anyways. Anyways, carry on, Cole.
Yeah, anyways, I gotta get some of these topics, or we'll just talk about cars and men nipples. So Contraband, the Avalanche team that's making Contraband have said no words in 2 years, but they updated and talked about how they're building this open world cooperative 70s heist game. I've talked about it a little bit. This is the team that built Mad Max on Xbox and PlayStation last generation, and they've built Rage 2, which is really underrated. It's really worth playing. And
love that game.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's got some cheesy crap in it, but I really loved it. They are working on what I would assume to be hopefully a third-person heist game, but it might be. You can't tell because Rage is first person, and Mad Max and Just Cause, which they make, are third-person open world action adventure games. So it's anybody's guess, but they are talking about how they're moving into the future of development, and they're working amongst all the other studios, and they were talking about how they build VFX and they work on animations, and each of the teams are segmented. One guy only does the cars, or one team only does the character models. I'm really excited to see if Contraband will be finally revealed at some way at this game event. But if they spoke up now, Mag, what are the chances that Contraband finally shows its teeth in June?
Well, they're going to have to. I mean, it's been how long? A year and a half? A year since they did that little thing where they showed the record player?
And
it had
I think 2 years.
Come on, has it been 2 years already?
I think so. I think it was the 2020 reveal.
Man. Jeez. Yeah. Okay, well, because that was the one with like the record player, and they had the Steely Dan song playing,
Or it might be 3 years. Let me look. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus. Let me tell you something. If it's 3 years, it's got to release within 12 months. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Like, how many? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on, guys? If they had already revealed it then,
that means it was 2 years. It was 2021. Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Okay, so there's still some time. There's still some time. But the thing is, when you do reveal a game, you want to release it within 2 years of revealing it. Don't do even Rockstar. Okay, I know people are going to be like, "Oh, come on, man!" Blah, 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 blah. Rockstar, when they do release a trailer, they still release it within 2 years. Okay, of that first trailer. So they've always done it. They even delayed Grand Theft Auto 5 by 6 months. I remember that, but it still was within the 2 year window. So
now,
you know what I'm saying? And like Red Dead and all that. So come on, man. I mean, if they can do that, these guys can do that. So if you release it within 2 years, give it to us. I mean, obviously it's not going to come this year. They would have said something by now, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I had heard a year ago that the team had missed a milestone last year. And I tried to be at least one of the very first people to say Xbox needs to deliver these games and get these out the door. It's been a long wait, but I also have to remember that some of these games were shown just 3 years ago. Some of them were shown 2 years ago. And normally in the marketing cycle, you're a year to 2 years away from release. But it seems like everybody has asked an extra year for their games. Everyone. Even Gran Turismo 7 and Horizon Forbidden West were supposed to come out a year before. They had a whole entire year delay. So no one is impervious to this. But yes, Xbox needs to get these games out. And I've said this. To top leadership at Xbox. Like, the perception is real. We understand as we dive in that the games are really highly rated, but Xbox has to show that they can launch games, that they actually know how to finish a game and actually print it and send it out into the masses. And it seems like they haven't
with quality. And then it has to land. They have to stick the landing. But the thing is, I will not budge on this. Like, I'm not gonna kiss anybody's butt on anything. All right. If I think that there's a leadership problem, which I said there is, I think there's too much laxy-daisy going on. I get it with some of the things. But if you delay a game by a whole year and you're still, and it's still, I mean, I understand the game is ready. Like, I'm specifically talking about Redfall, but whatever. And I'm like, when I got upset about that,
you're right here, bro. You're right here.
Well, people were saying to me, like, oh, come on, Mag, it's only the 30 frames. They'll fix it, this and that, whatever. And I'm like, guys, you're missing the point. I don't care about the 30 frames. It's got nothing to do with it. The 30 frames was a catalyst for an entire other problem. And the problem is not getting anything out on time while your competition is curb stomping you.
Yeah.
This is what, you can only say, wait another year for so long before people start giving up. That's a problem.
I'm surprised they haven't, but actually, Mag, I think they have given up.
Numbers in Europe?
Yeah.
Have you seen the numbers in Europe? You can't ignore that either.
It's like 4-1 in Europe or something.
400 and something percent increase on Sony and minus 13 on Xbox. Come on, man. And then the Game Pass numbers were dropping. So, you know what I mean? It's a reality. Now, they will bounce back. It's not the end of the world. It's just like a boxing match. Just because one guy gets punched doesn't mean the match is over. You know what I mean? Like, so, the other one's going to come back and punch again. It's back and forth. And in the end, it'll all be the same. It'll be
and I think that
going into the next gen and everything else.
I think that Xbox truly believes that they are leaving the Mirkwood Forest, as it sounds. Like they're really finally getting out of the haunted forest, and those days will be behind them. And I think that this summer is when this month is when that happens. We're going to talk about Redfall. Mag, you were like reading my mind, because before I talk about the latest preview and update for Redfall, I've made assumptions that Xbox had no idea that this was going on. And I've tried to dive into what happened and why. But as much as I can tell you from my experience or what I see with the Eye of Sauron, that I make a good villain, right? Is that I think Xbox kind of got blindsided by the 30 frames announcement. And Arcane has always been very independent, even independent within Bethesda and ZeniMax. And it just seems to me like they dropped this on everybody, including Xbox. And Xbox is like, maybe Xbox is like, you know what? We trusted you. Like, we figured you guys had it, because when have you ever faltered? Arcane has never faltered. They are like immaculate. And then they drop an announcement 2 weeks ago, like 30 frames.
Though? Yeah. But hold on, they're outside of their comfort zone.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. You're right, Mag. Yes. They are outside their comfort zone. In the engine, making something that they didn't make before. They're making something for Xbox through Bethesda. They're going to launch in Game Pass, so they're going to have way more eyes on than they normally would. Believe it or not, being exclusive to Xbox, and I know people won't believe this, but being exclusive to Xbox and launching in Game Pass gets them more eyes on than if they were going to release on PlayStation. It's quite possible, because you're going to have 25 million that can click that button to try the game. And you don't get that on PlayStation, because there's a $70 barrier to entry, which I also don't agree with. Redfall should not be a $70 game. You should have waited for Starfield on that one. Okay. So let me get into what we heard today about Redfall. So IGN previewed the game in co-op, playing the game with Arcane developers Ricardo Bear, the lead director, and Miranda Sanchez of IGN said she got hands-on. She wrote a whole article about it. And I read through it today before the show, but her closing statement is this. I'll want to have multiple instances going a solo playthrough so I can explore the corners and read notes to my heart's content. And at least one instance of a co-op game so I can learn more about all of the characters. I'm still unsure about who I want to play so I can learn about all of the characters, but I'm still unsure. But I know the very least I'm going to have a good time staking vampires, close quote. So you can read her preview, Mag. I didn't see a lot of, I don't know if this is going to be good, or this was kind of dumb. I didn't hear this is going to be game of the year, but I was reading through. I'm like, she really liked this as well as I did when I played it. But Mag, we got to ask. Hargeet does the numbers on Metacritic. We actually did a calculation at the worst case scenario. What do you think Redfall is going to land at?
77.
Oh, jeez. Hargeet,
I don't know why. That number just came to my head for no reason whatsoever. I don't even have anything to back that up. I just blurted it out. My brain said 77.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair.
I just think that some people are. Here's my thought. Especially when it comes to games that are online, I think it will get a lot of people who put it in like somewhere in the 80s. But then you're going to get people who don't get it, or don't like it, or it's not their jam, and they're going to put it in the high 60s and 70s. And
what is it about games that launch with online co-op and a multiplayer aspect that they automatically just cannot meet the upper echelon of the great single player experience?
It's not. I don't think it's gonna crack 80. I just think it's gonna sit at 77. It's gonna be a respectable score, but it's not gonna be, earth shattering or anything like that. The only games that could pull off anything like that, I think, are games like Borderlands. And the reason why is because Borderlands' focus is not the multiplayer. The multiplayer is just sort of like something you can do, but it has such a huge overarching story that can be played single player, and you can put 100 hours.
I mean,
you're
meant to play Borderlands. You're meant to play Borderlands online, but I got so much joy when my friends weren't around. So you're so right, Mag. Like, I don't know what it is.
I got 2,000 out of 2,000 achievement points. 3,000, excuse me, because with the DLC. 3,000 out of 3,000 achievement points on Borderlands 3. With all the DLC that came out with it, I got it all. And I did it all solo. The only time I ever delved into the multiplayer is Noof Nukem was playing. Shout out to Noof Nukem, my buddy out there. He was playing, and I joined his game for like a couple of hours. And that was it. And other than that, I did the entire thing solo. So the point was, I understand that Redfall is going to be solo, but I think that a lot of people are focusing on this multiplayer thing, and I think it's going to affect their score. So my guess is somewhere between, I would say 77. I'm just going to stay there. So let's just pin that there. Let's pin it at a 77 and leave it there for that. So if we'll see what happens. By next week we'll have a score. No.
Yeah. Somebody said in the chat that Redfall hasn't even gone gold. I would bet you, Mag's hat. Now, I would bet you that Redfall's already gone gold. And if I was working on the communications team for Redfall, I would not announce the game went gold. That's not an announcement you want to make when you've got a big chunk of the community saying it's incomplete without that 60 frames mode. And if I was working there, I would say, don't announce it's going gold. Everyone already knows the release date is May 2nd. Our messaging is May 2nd. We release on PC, Xbox console, Game Pass, and cloud. That's your messaging. You already flubbed it with the 30 frames thing. You screwed over, millions of people on console. Don't brag that you've gone gold because they know that they're launching it incomplete. So, no, I said, right. I think an 80, but I also think Redfall could be slightly higher because Arcane, they've stretched out of their comfort zone with the hardware and the software and the engine. But they always make a great, compelling game. And I knew when I picked Layla, which everyone thought was the best, and I heard that all the characters were way better, I thought this game has got to be something special. That if all those characters I wasn't interested in ended up being even better than Layla. Like, they loved them. So I would hope that we start seeing announcements that people are reviewing the game. I haven't heard anything yet. If they end up sending me a review copy, I'll probably not be able to even say that I'm reviewing it, which is kind of a dumb thing Xbox does, but whatever. Let's move forward here. We got Oh my gosh, we're like all over the board here. So yeah, I put up a poll, Mag. What's it saying there?
Actually, most are agreeing with you at the 80.
The 80.
So we're all within 3 points of each other, basically. Like I'm saying 77 on the lower end. Don't forget there's an Xbox tax. And then on every game, right?
Right.
There's always an Xbox tax. Always take away 4%. And then on top of that, you know, the PR press. This is assuming that the game runs smooth as well. If it's buggy and stuff, they're gonna say something about it. Now that there's a microscope on this game, right? So, like I said, some people will be forgiving, some people will be fine, some will be in the 80s, some will be in the 70s, and you know there's always gonna be 2 or 3 that are gonna pop it in the high 60s, and it's gonna drag it down a few percent. I'm not gonna budget 77, but as it stands, the poll sits at 80%. Joe Dunmore is in the chat. He's a good friend of mine from Gaming After Dark. He's out there, and actually, I did a giveaway for a game like way back when. He was the winner of that game. He got every single question of my video game trivia contest. He got every single one of them right, and they were all done in riddles. The guy is a genius. Anyways, shout out to him. Anyways, yes, so we're all sitting at there. We got a couple 78s in there, so we're basically between 77 and 80.
Yeah,
so
and
now,
we're not.
When does the actual review embargo lift?
Thank you,
Can
Mag.
anybody tell me right away?
We don't know yet, and we're not out of the realm of normality for that.
We don't know.
Just today, we found out what the embargo date is for Jedi Survivor, which launches in
Wednesday.
3 or 4 days, right? 3 days, really.
Yes.
So,
well, it comes out Thursday midnight, but yes, you're right. But the
so
embargo
about 3 or
lifts on
4
Wednesday.
days. So, if that's to be
Tomorrow
believed, 'cause I
midnight.
think today, 4 days before launch, or you call it 3 or 4, let's just say 4 days. 4 days before launch is when we found out when the embargo date is for Jedi Survivor. We are 8 days from Redfall's launch. So by that standard, we have 4 days to find out when the embargo date is for Redfall. But we assume it's going to come in very close to launch. If
So
Arcane is a little questionable about how they think the game's going to do, right, Mag? They'll probably put that embargo date May 2nd at midnight or whatever. And then you'll kind of know.
We might not have it by next show. If it launches in 8 days, it might be that day, or it might come out the day the game drops. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna check it out.
because that would be Tuesday, right? Yeah. Let me look at something here. Metacritic does something on some of the games. They have a buzz chart, and I'm going to see if Redfall has. They gauge buzz based on social media and a bunch of other factors, and they give a number that is very much like a Metacritic number, which is a projection of what the world thinks Redfall is going to launch. Will get for a review score. Are you ready for this? It went sharply down. It has been sitting somewhere around the low 70s to the 76s for much of the past year. But right when in March or April, when the 30 frames announcement came, it dropped down to a 68. I can't see the number exactly. I've got a horizontal graph here that doesn't tell me the exact number. It looks like it dropped down to about a 78 during the 30 frames debacle, and it went sharply back up, a straight line back up to a 75 or 76. I actually wish I would have charted this on other games, because it'll give you a good idea of what the world will end up giving it for a Metacritic when the reviews come in. So those of you who voted in the high 70s, because I did in intervals of 5, like those of you who voted for a 75 or an 80, you might be pretty accurate. And 77 for Mag, bro, you get a cookie for that.
I think that's where I'm sitting. I'm sitting at 77, and that's my number, and I'm not going to budge. So,
all right, we've got a couple
we'll
other
see.
supers.
Hey, we're going to find out. Go for it.
We're gonna find out is it Tuesday of next week? RDX Day? Yeah, I think it is.
When is the actual release date?
Hold on, let me look at a calendar. And
May 2nd is a Tuesday.
Thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with Meg and I. We really appreciate it. And we really do appreciate it. Yeah, it would be May 2nd. It would be Tuesday, the day after the 100th episode of Ecstasy. And hit the like button if you're having a good time. We do have a lot of great information to give to you. A couple of supers here that cover this Redfall thing, and we'll move on. Book and Beard, thank you for the super. Says God of War ran at 30 on the PS4. Very stable, 40 to 60 on the PS4 Pro. He knows his stuff. He's right. He says, how are Sony fans going to handle it when the first PS5 exclusive God of War runs at 30? Well, I don't think it will. And I would also posture to you guys, listen in, put your ears close, I won't yell. What is making you think that Spider-Man 2 in September of 2023, what makes you think that's going to run at 30? I'm assuming you're all expecting that game to have a performance mode, right? Right? Nod your head, raise your hand, right? Why would 100%. You assume? Why? It ran at 30 on last generation consoles. Why would it run at 60? Oh, well, they did another one. They did Miles Morales and the remaster. It runs at 60. Okay, on the PS5, right? So you're going to assume that Spider-Man 2 runs at 60, right? Oh, of course. I'm like, okay, I'm with you. I agree. But why would you think Starfield wouldn't? That's a mystery. That's why would you? Oh, because the Xbox Series X is half as powerful as PS5? No. So these are all rhetorical questions, but when you're like Redfall runs at 30, so everything's doomed from Xbox. Now just pay attention to where things correlate. Obviously, they didn't have enough time with the build of the engine. Digital Foundry agreed with me last week. So I don't want you guys to, maybe we should expect Starfield to be at 30, but the logic doesn't really work other than you to say, oh, it's Murphy's Law. Everything Xbox touches is destined to be doomed and not run correctly. And so a game that looks like Starfield runs at 60 should? I don't know. Let me move forward. Roberto Maldonado, thank you for the $2, says, I hope Redfall turns out to be good. I think it will be, but it needs to be great. Boner Jams with a $5 super chat. You sent this like 15 minutes ago. Good evening, boys. Who else is pumped for Jedi? Star Wars Sith Survivor dropping this week. He always calls it the wrong Survivor name. He says, I genuflect at the altar of Darth Raven. Godspeed. Speaking of Star Wars, and we don't talk about TV on here much, but chat, who watched the rest of Mandalorian? I finished it with my son, and I thought, man, that's way better than the movies. Yeah, did you watch it, Mag? Do you watch that sort of stuff? Mandalorian.
I didn't like it.
How much did you watch? That's fair. Opinions are opinions. I'm not going to get mad.
I was good up until the second season when the whole thing with Luke and all that stuff. No, dude, I've always been a huge Star Wars fan. I just think that Disney is failing Marvel and Star Wars. That's me. And now I don't want to get into it because some people are going to get mad at what I got to say. But like, listen, I think they're failing. I think they're failing Star Wars. They're failing Marvel, and we could see it with their diminishing returns and numbers. But yeah, I didn't finish the third season. I just walked away after 4 episodes. I'm like, I'm done, and I washed my hands of it. So it kind of sucks because you know what? I know the first 6 Star Wars movies. Actually, if you include 7, because I really like The Force Awakens. After that, forget it. But I got to tell you, I can literally tell you the entire script word for word for the first 7 movies without fail. I can even speak Huttese for Christ's sake. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know all this stuff. So that being the case, you know, it was heartbreaking for me to see what's happened to everything else and whatever. And it was just, you know, I don't know.
That's okay. That's
Colin
okay.
Prime, what are
I
you
enjoyed
saying?
it. Huh?
Dude, Colin Prime in the chat. Dude, please.
Mag probably doesn't watch it.
You got to be kidding me. Disney, he's like, Disney's not failing. Disney has lost $220 billion in 2 years. They are failing miserably.
It's a subscription service. It's not sustainable.
Actually, their subscription service is failing too. They lost 20 million plus subscribers in the last quarter alone.
Well, I mean,
and all of
most of the shows on there I did not
massively.
like. Yeah, most of them I didn't
terrible.
like.
They're terrible.
My family liked Loki, but I was just like, but that's okay. We're not going to talk about TV. Let's talk about the new Xbox dashboard. I was hoping that Xbox 2 would do their show today so I could tell you more, but I guess I'm just going to have to be super, super vague like Jez was on Twitter. But apparently in the next couple of weeks, Xbox dashboard is going to get the update we've all asked for. So I'm not going to say any more because I know what's going on and what is to come at the risk of, somebody telling me something that they heard. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be good. They just put out an update today. You can get the illustration of Redfall with the vampire, and the dashboard has these huge tiles that everyone complains about. But this picture actually happens to show almost all of the picture that needs to be shown. Like, you can see all 4 characters. You can see the Raven, like the wings going up and down animated. And then the vampire in the foreground's hands are moving and they're half covered. But it just happens that this picture allows you to see the parts that the tiles cover up. But sounds like in a couple weeks we're going to hear about either the alpha version or the release of a long-awaited dashboard update. Is that good enough, Mag?
Yeah, because
is that good enough to describe, I guess?
Yeah.
Or I guess you could postulate what you think that what they're doing, and I'll just sit here and listen to you.
Listen, it's the same thing with didn't they do the same thing with Halo when it came out? They had like those the what is it called, the moving screens and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the animated background.
The animated backgrounds and stuff. And of course, what does that do? That gets people interested. I mean, that's assuming that people even know it's there. I mean, the thing is, like, in order to find it, you got to scroll all the way to the right. You got to go down to your settings, and then you got to go find it, and then it's there.
You have to find what is it? Personalization. What is it? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know when they do the little advertisement at the bottom when you turn on the console, and it's got like something. It's like, oh, check out this whatever sale.
Check out these Gillette razors.
Sale on. Yeah, like something, and I don't know, Manscaped or whatever the hell they're doing. Manscaped, call us up, by the way. I make the best ads for Manscaped. I wrote 17 ads for Manscaped for Boom Show. And listen, man, they were hot. So,
Manscaped,
I don't know.
Manscaped doesn't want to work with me. I did a one ad read with them, and he said by the end of the week, my ad sold 1 unit, and they're like, that wasn't enough. I'm like, but like 30,000 people saw this show. I was like, well, but then other people in the community are selling Manscaped stuff, but shout out to those who shave their stuff. Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Call us back, okay? We're gonna get you back on board here, okay? We're gonna sell thousands. I'm telling you. Randall Thor's gonna buy 10 himself just to help to support the channel. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, there's no need. I mean, Xbox 2 sells everybody's shavers in this community, but the dashboard. Yeah, somebody's like the new dashboard. Yeah. You say so. I don't know if you kind of caught the hint of what they would change in the dashboard, but I don't expect major changes. But
no, not major, but like just a tweak here and there. I could see something like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know what better way to advertise your new games? But the thing is, you kind of have to force feed it, and that's what I'm getting at. Like, you need to force feed the advertisement, right? So, like the game, like if you're gonna put a Redfall like living background or whatever, put it front and center so that when someone turns on their Xbox for the first time or whatever, not for the first time, but when they're turning on their Xbox to do whatever they're going to do, it's right there and it says, click on here if you want the new living background or whatever, right? So it's right there. So like when you turn it on and then, when you normally see something like, oh, look, we're having a Take-Two sale this week, 30% off all Take-Two games or whatever, right? So why not for like a couple of days, just stick that living background thing in that square, in that exact spot, so that when you turn it on, you look down, it's right there, the advertisement's there. You say, oh, okay, well, let me click on it. You click on it, you put it on there, and guess what? It starts drilling into your brain. Okay, it starts drilling into your brain about this game, and then it gets people to think about it. Then it gets people to play it, and that's how you get engagement. You don't get engagement by not slapping stuff in front of you.
I didn't want to turn on my Xbox, so I'm looking at a screenshot. Like on the far left, when you're facing your TV, you have this big icon, which is the game that's ready to go resume back to, and then you have a row of games that you played recently. It's like I don't need that. At all. Like. Move the ads up and put it in a singular line, but I don't think they're going to do that with this update. But anyone's like, it's very obvious what you need to do to fix the dashboard, and they don't do that.
Right.
But another thing that happened this week was thanks to Elon Musk, who is charging what we assume charging Microsoft and Xbox platform $42,000 per month for the right to upload video game clips directly to Twitter from the console, which you can do for free on the Xbox phone app if you have your clips there. But simply recording a clip while you're playing, going over to the share button, and telling it to post that video to Twitter. Elon Musk wants Xbox to pay $42,000 per month for the right to allow their customers to do that. Immediately, Microsoft pulled the feature retroactively from the consoles. Like while we were sitting there, I was actually playing Dead Island 2 and I was checking out Twitter, and it was like it was completely gone. There was no longer the Twitter share function. The real bummer about this, Tony's saying something about the dashboard at 1080p. The dashboard needs HDR more than anything. I haven't heard anything about that. I am so tired of the game flashing to black to switch to HDR in between dash and game. That PlayStation doesn't do that because they had the foresight to do the dash and HDR. people are like, I don't want the dash in HDR, it'll burn my TV. It's like, it's not going to burn your TV. Mike says that's pocket change for Microsoft. And that's what I said. And I got yelled at. Like, Microsoft, just pay the fee. One of the other things we don't know is how much is PlayStation paying and how much is Nintendo paying to post video clips to Twitter. Probably the same, but there is an assumption from the industry insiders that Microsoft is charged more than the other platforms. I don't know why that would be, but I said Xbox should pay the fee because sharing game clips on Twitter is more marketing than Microsoft marketing does for Xbox. What do you think? Do you give a crap, Mag? I mean, do you care about? I mean, do you care about? Do you share game clips to Twitter very often? Is that something you even do?
I used to, but you know the thing is, what was happening with the Xbox One is that it was so dark.
That it was for
you remember
a long
that?
time.
Like you couldn't see what the hell was going on. So like I was all excited, like I'd have like an awesome clip or whatever. I'm not. Never mind. I'm not even gonna get into that. Someone's trolling me in the chat. A cute perspective. Don't you think just because of the 1,000 people here, don't think I can't see what you're writing, weirdo? Anyways, here's the thing.
Now I want to see it, but
he's calling me stuff and things because I said that Disney's failing, which they are.
I mean,
anyhow,
whatever.
Here's the thing.
Numbers.
Oh.
You still get your Mandalorian, finish your show. Yeah. Go ahead.
As they're all getting fired one by one. Anyway, here's the thing. So I used to post clips and pictures on there, and it looked like I was taking pictures in the dark. And I'm like, without a flash. And I'm like, what is... Yeah, the clips were terrible. And I'm sitting there, I was taking clips of, what is it called? Assassin's Creed and some other things, whatever.
And I'm like, all right. Fix that. It took a year.
Like, what is going on? And it was terrible. And eventually I got to the point where I just gave up on it. So I never went back. And that's not a good look because you know the thing is, it's ingrained in my mind that it was garbage. You know what I mean? Now the thing is that we talked about it forever. I remember Dealer talking about it for a long time.
It wasn't just that, Mag. Yeah, Dealer and I talked about it a lot. It wasn't just that.
You and Dealer were big components about
it. 80% of the time when I would record a clip, it would say, sorry, cannot share this right now. Or you try to play it and it would buffer or it would just glitch out.
Right.
But once you restarted the console or gave it a day, the clip was great. You could share it. And then of course they were dark. It took the team a year to fix that. Of course, it's working great. Now it's been working great for months. And Hargeet Chani has a little insight on that. He says,
yes.
With a $5 super, thank you, Hargeet. He says, I'm sure the cost per month is much higher for Twitter API access as it is for Microsoft, not just Xbox. More used by ad platform. Microsoft should pay them. So Hargeet's saying they should just pay the fee. But it just seems like Elon Musk is disrupting in just such a bad way. I don't normally complain about this corporate bull crap when it comes to something like Twitter that doesn't really affect me, but he's kind of affected my ability to enjoy the platform in a lot of ways. He's fired 80% of the employees, let them all go. And there are bare bones features that don't work on a thing that is simple, like a text-based social media platform that supports videos and photos. Well, I got to go back to the GameDVR thing because now if I share a clip from my phone from the Xbox app to Twitter, now it's at 30 frames because just by the very nature of how it happened to work. Let me not bore you, but before a 4K 60 image to Twitter would say, oh, that's too big of a file. We'll pair it back to 1080p 60. So you still get the frame smooth visual of a clip when you share it out. Then it'll be, oh, that game looks really cool. Now the phone or web to Twitter or whatever, 30 frames. It just defaults to 4K 30. And so I put up Dead Island 2, and it's like with the 30 frames, I'm used to 60, but I won't cry about that too long. But
it's like dancing in a strobe light in an 80s nightclub. Yeah, so it's like, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
it's a bummer.
So anyway,
I don't know.
What are you gonna do? Nothing.
It's just gonna be one of those things that I'm gonna moan and groan about for 2 days, and then it's the new reality. Whatever. Let's talk about. Oh gosh, there's kind of a. So PlayStation just started increasing prices double in foreign markets, but PlayStation fans. Let me make this very clear, Mag. PlayStation fans don't want Xbox to die. I don't think they want Xbox to die at all. They don't want it to go away. They just
No,
don't
of
want.
course not.
They just
don't
don't
want
want PlayStation to have competition and a threat, right?
No, they just want them there. They want them there in third place, so they have a buffer. They have something to lean on when they're standing. You know what I'm saying? When they're standing on their podium, they want a body so they can put their foot on and take a picture. That's what they want. You know what I'm saying? Like, those photos that you see, like those photos you see on Twitter, like, and like, it just shows, like, the guy, and it's like, look at this reprehensible man as he, like, killed, like, I don't know, like a giraffe, and he's standing there with his foot on it, and he's got a big rifle on his thing, and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they want. They want a picture of, like, Xbox dead on the ground, and then them standing on top of it with a foot on it. They don't want you gone. They just don't want you to compete. And that's how they operate. That's how they've always done that. Look at they almost. I mean, they buried Sega. They buried the 3DO. They almost buried Nintendo in the 90s before the N64 came out. A lot of people don't think that. A lot of people don't know that. And of course, there's the big drama of how they screwed them over and all that stuff. And then, of course, they almost buried Nintendo to begin with, because Nintendo was losing some money in the 90s, in the mid to late 90s, as like the Mario craze was dropping off and Sega was starting. You know what I mean? So it was a whole thing. So.
Didn't they? The whole PlayStation thing was a Nintendo PlayStation. Yeah, that was a whole mess. But
it was the whole thing, right? So I could see it. They don't want them to compete.
This whole issue with competition and how Xbox has yet to raise the price of the console. They haven't raised the price of Game Pass. They brought their games up to $70 as they get into next generation only games. But Lena Khan has been under quite a bit of heat from the FTC lately. Yeah. It's been kind of funny to watch because a few weeks ago she looked like this big towering menace on a golden throne, and now when she's at the table, it's like, and they're kind of drilling her. They had this Kentucky or a Tennessee representative that was asking her why she was protecting PlayStation. She said. Asked her about this monopolistic behavior and said, why does it seem like you're supporting or protecting PlayStation? And she goes, we're just looking at the facts first. The facts are so important, and we're just looking at the facts. And of course, they're drilling Lena Khan about how the facts are showing that there is monopolistic behavior from PlayStation. They're blocking different parts of the market. They're dominating 80 to 90% in Japan. And recently, Senator Cantwell, who was interviewing one of President Biden's advisors for mergers or the market or whatever it is. I don't follow this stuff, and I don't really care. Not that it matters. But it was funny how she said, we got to look into this deal with PlayStation and monopolistic behavior. And this Catherine Tai was kind of like, she was like stammering and like, and it wasn't like she was being drilled. I watched the clip that Post Up put on social media. It was pretty clear that Catherine Tai wasn't well versed in what's going on with video game market and acquisition and stuff. It was like something she hadn't really looked into, and it's something she was starting to advise on. And so she was kind of staring like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll look into it. It was pretty clear. She's like, I got a lot to learn on this, and I'll do it. I'll go learn. And then Maria Cantwell said, if they were blocking access, if PlayStation was blocking access, would that be a great concern? And Catherine Tai goes, yeah. I mean, are they? And then Maria Cantwell goes, I'm telling you they are. They're blocking access. And she goes, oh, yes, we'll look into it. And it wasn't a drill. It was just kind of funny how the education was coming forward. Because imagine, Mag, like, I'm not making fun of Catherine Tai. She was learning in the moment. What am I about to take on? Give me all the information. I'll go back and do my job. That's what it was. And she's like, what if they were blocking, Mag? Would that be bad if PlayStation was blocking? If they were blocking competition.
Yeah, it was almost like she was leading her on. You know what I mean? Like, it was something else. But listen, I said something earlier last week after that. I saw all those clips and I watched everything. I'm like, I wanted to put up a poll, but I ended up just doing it in primetime gaming. And I'm like, who got it worse? Bob Iger during the shareholders call got it handed to him hard, and then like right after that, Lena Khan in the same week, and I watched both, and I was just like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen of the complete and utter beatdown of these two people. But anyways, enough of the Iger thing. I just thought it was funny to compare because they both happened in the same week. But
just getting kind of sweaty behind the mic, right? They're like,
holy! If anybody has the chance to listen to it, guys, I know it's not a video game thing. Go listen to the shareholders call with Disney. It was magnificent. Anyways, that's besides the point. The Lena Khan stuff was awesome, and it was exactly everything we said. It was everything we've been saying for weeks, for months, for bloody well a year and a half, whatever. Mm-hmm. But now it's coming to fruition. You see that a lot of it, in the end, has nothing to do with what's actually happening. It had nothing to do with the facts. It has nothing to do with the black or white of this situation. It had everything to do with the fact that this is all just political posturing. That's all it is. All it is just a big show to pretend that everybody gives a crap about what's going on. They don't care about the $70 billion. It had nothing to do with that ever. All it is just a show that's saying, listen, we're going to pass this. They're not going to say that. But in their minds, they're like, listen, this thing's going to go through. There's nothing we could do about it. Because you know what? When Microsoft's like team of the best lawyers on earth are coming at you and they have all the facts in front of you, they can't be refuted. Therefore, the point is, at the end of the day, what they're doing is going to say, all right, well, you know what? We're going to lose this thing. There's no point even bothering. We can't charge them or take them to court. We could say it and we could try, we could threaten. But in the end, they got to pretend that they cross all their T's and dot all their I's. And you know what I'm saying? And then that they went through everything and say, listen, we went through the due process and there it is. And at the end of the day, that's all they could do. Just say that we went through the due process. So they drag it out forever to give you that political posturing that they actually did something about it, do the job, blah, 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 blah. Just like every politician on earth, they really don't do anything. They just make it seem like they're doing something. So it's the same thing.
Yeah,
the FTC is just a division. It's a division of the government. And therefore, they're doing the exact same thing. I'm going to change this town. That's what the mayor
and there's
said,
a little bit
right?
of pride
and
there
they don't
where
change nothing. Come on.
And there's pride there where CMA will posture it like, I've used that word like 9 times tonight. CMA will
take
position
a shot
it
every
like
time Colt says posture.
they'll make it look like they were on board with it all along, because it's a pride thing, and CMA and the FTC have really sounded very prideful, which is, it's a weird thing. Like, I'm the sheriff in town, and I had a friend who worked for the DMV. Oh gosh, I hope he's not listening to this. And he used to kind of have this attitude, like, I have more power than anyone else. I can take your license away. I'm like, yeah, you could go into a filing cabinet and get rid of someone's license. It's not legal, but it doesn't mean you have any power. He was young though. He was young. He never did that. But I feel like that's how it is. And we all get a little bit prideful in our jobs. And the pride shows through, doesn't it?
It's puffing up the chest.
Yeah.
Puffing out of the chest.
The chicken hawk from Looney Tunes.
You got to read the super chat. This is funny. Go ahead.
Grumble, thank you for the super. He says, Mag, I was going to say the same thing, Grumble. Mag, what's due process?
What's a dude process?
Dude process, yeah.
Well,
when you said due process, due didn't sound right to me because I'm used to the term due process, and you say due process.
Perhaps
and it reminds
I should have said a boot. Would that make you guys feel better if I said a boot? How about that?
That reminds me, 15 years ago, a team from Canada came in and did a consult with our team, and they were doing these presentations, and they kept saying process over and over, and I was going, that's not how you say it over here.
We speak the king's language, not this heathen English that you speak down south. Anyways, I'm just kidding.
The best part about being on the internet or having a show or being on a headset, which 15 years ago I wasn't on a headset as much with people from around the world. You get to hear people say, where you live across the states, people say things differently. And
yes, they do.
Now my favorite saying is, oh my days, because of Gaz. But I don't know if I'm going to start saying process. Can you process those onions and I'll put them in the pan? We'll cook those.
You know what's funny? Sometimes I say process.
processor?
Sometimes I say process. Sometimes I say process. It's crazy. Like I'm Italian by heritage, right? But the thing is, it's like if you go to Italy, there are like 15 different dialects of the same language, and there are people who don't understand each other.
In the same country, yeah.
In the same country, they talk in Sicily. It's completely different than the way they talk in like Rome in Abruzzo or whatever, right? It's nuts. So so anyways, but either way. Here we go. Fun spec. You know what, Mav? You just couldn't control yourself. Hey, look at him. I said A.
Do you want me to read it? Mag says, sorry about Mag's pronunciation of due process. Yeah. There he is.
Grumble said dude process. So all I can think of is that, you know what, there's dudes and then there's people like me who's a dude pro. So I'm like the upgraded version of a dude. I think that's what he was getting at. But anyways, fun speculation. No one asked you. Okay, you can leave any time now. Thank you very much.
Hey, shout out to Mav. Mav, you can stay here as long as you want. You don't have to listen to that Canadian. Those guys, they're too nice anyway. You can take advantage of them. They're way too nice. They're amazing. I'm actually a really nice guy. You, Donnie. Reed as he thinks Mag drinks bagged milk. Actually, I don't drink milk, but yes, in Canada we do. Hey, we get them in both, man. We get them in cartons and we get them in bags. Okay. So, anyways, it's pretty. That was really funny. That made me. They're already in a bag naturally. Why do you have to put them in another bag and hurt the environment? Bring the udder with you.
And it's got.
Hey, can you give me the udder of milk out of the fridge? Out of the ice box, whatever you guys call it over there.
An ice box, yeah. No, we just keep it outside next to the igloos. Anyway.
Yeah, with the Inuits, right, that live up there, way up there.
Yeah.
It shows you how much. That's a geography lesson and a dialect language lesson from Mag and Colt on the XSC show.
There you go, folks.
The one last bit of information for the CMA Activision Blizzard thing is that New Zealand asked for like a continuance all the way into June. But it looks like by June, everything should be done. In fact, there was an article that came out today I was going to cite during the show where it's just pretty much accepted that this deal is going to close. So the media is getting on board. They're ready for that eventuality where Xbox will print money and Game Pass will get bigger and hopefully these big games will show up. But we are going to, I don't know. It's been a crazy day. Mag, thank you so much for being here.
Yes. It was wonderful. We had a great show tonight. There was a lot of passion in the chat tonight. A lot of passion on the panel. You and I. It was a wild show tonight, man. A lot of
huge
screaming.
Panel.
Yeah, the huge panel of just Colt and I, and of course, people in the chat are still talking about bagged milk. I mean, I swear, if there was another panel member, I would have put myself on mute. I would have gone upstairs, grabbed a bag of milk, and I would have shown you. It comes in a container. You just cut it off with the scissors, and you just pour it like a regular milk.
Is it like a bottle-shaped bag?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just like a bag, weird. And it comes in a bag of 3, and then you just slide it into a thing, you just snip it, and you go. Or you could buy a carton just like you guys. It's the same thing. They have cartons.
Can you just throw it in your backpack with like a surgical tubing and go biking, just suck down the milk?
Christ. No, I usually fill that with vodka or whiskey, but that's a whole other story. But anyways.
Where's Mag? He's been riding his bike for 3 hours.
Hey, you know what? I have a funny story. It's only 30 seconds. There was a guy I used to go to the local bar. I used to go to Archibald's in Richmond Hill, where I used to live. And listen, this guy, he got arrested twice for drinking and driving, and he was a farmer. Then I found out, you guys will never believe what happened to Jim. The guy got arrested driving his John Deere tractor to the bar in the middle, and we're not talking like we don't live in the sticks. Okay, this is like a built up like real, near the city. Mm-hmm. This guy was driving his tractor in the middle of the road trying to drive to the bar. And the cops pulled him over with a John Deere tractor on the side of Yonge Street. Anybody who knows anything about Toronto, Yonge Street's the biggest road. Actually, it's the longest road in the world. And he was driving down Yonge Street trying to get to the bar in his John Deere tractor because he got arrested twice. So anyway, sorry. I just started thinking about drinking. And
you got any function gauges on this, Earl?
Yeah. No. Can you imagine? That was the most amazing thing I ever heard. Anyhow, we had a great show tonight. We had a lot of fun. We're going to have a 100th episode next week. We're going to have special guests. We're going to have everybody. I'm just kidding. We're having nobody. It's just going to be myself.
Yeah, let me know I've been banging around this tiny brain of mine about who I want to have on. Like, I really didn't want to, try and bring on the community for the show because my layout and my management of the show doesn't really work that way. But write in the comments, especially if you're watching this after the fact, who you'd like me to get on next week. I'm going to start asking around tomorrow, but I don't know. I'm a horrible planner, but yeah, I don't know. You guys are amazing. The chat's been so great, Mag. They're so good.
They won't stop. A Q perspective just made me almost spit on my water. He goes, milk in Canada comes in an IV drip. A Q perspective, that was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. Fun fact.
And by the way,
about
when
me,
I call you.
Go ahead.
When I call you a wacko and a weirdo, it's all just fun and games. When I throw out fun speculation, though, when I throw him out of the chat, I meant that. So, but everybody else, I just, whatever.
Yeah, fun
3D
fact.
Gaz is coming back. He's being executed live on air. I told you.
Can you imagine? Yeah. Fun fact about me: I won't drink regular plain milk. I won't. It's something that, as a child, it's so funny because I thought I wouldn't drink regular milk because when they taught us that cows have two stomachs, they eat grass, they chew into cud, it goes in their stomach. I seriously thought for like almost my whole life that grass broke down, went into the other stomach, and turned into milk. And so dumb. And so I'm talking about when I was in second grade, I wouldn't drink plain milk, but I'll drink chocolate milk like water. I'll drink it all the time. But it's just the plain milk. I'm like, what if I can taste the grass? I don't want anything to do with it. Apparently, I didn't know how babies were born either back then. So, yeah, there's your fun fact. Colt doesn't drink milk because he thinks it's chewed up grass.
The chat has spoken. I've already confirmed it. It's going to be Jim Ryan, Crab Gamer, and he's going to be on there, and of course Phil Spencer. The five of us are going to have the show of a lifetime. So everybody get on board. It's going to be amazing. The chat is all asking for these people. So this
can you imagine Jim Ryan on a 2-hour show? He'd be like,
well, it can't be any worse than that guy who interviewed what's his name, Todd Howard. The guy sounded like he was in a coma. Who was that guy?
Now Lex Friedman is. I was just learning about him when he interviewed Todd Howard. He's a brilliant mind. He's a physicist, a scientist, an inventor. He can do anything. He's like a black belt, but his personality is so down low on the excitement level. But a brilliant mind.
I think I killed him in Dying Light too. It's like the same personality.
He goes, Todd. Todd.
Would you? Where's?
So where's Elder Scrolls 6 going to take place? And Todd goes, well, nice try. And Todd's being all funny, and he's like, just thought I would try to pull one over on you, Todd.
He's a serial killer.
Wait, cows have four stomachs? Cows have four stomachs?
I didn't know that. That's frightening.
The Washington Dairygold cows have two stomachs.
All I know is that I eat them. That's all I know.
And if they're anywhere near Hanford, I live in Washington, and we have a huge nuclear facility in the smack dab in the middle of nowhere in Washington, where plutonium is made, and those cows have four stomachs probably. But this show's off the rails. What's that?
Your second head is growing soon. Plutonium? Yeah, you should have a second. We'll have. You know what? We don't even need another panel. Colt's second head is going to be the third panel member on the show.
Xbox has no games.
Yeah. I would love it if your second head, was actually anti-Xbox. That would be perfect.
It would be awesome.
So you're saying all this stuff on XNC, and your second head, your plutonium head, is saying all these guys. I don't know what the hell's going on. I feel like I've already had like 11 drinks. That's the kind of stuff I'd have after drinking half a case of beer. But anyways,
I've already seen enough comments over here that make me want to just take a break from social media for a couple days. You guys are hilarious.
I saw them. Yeah, they're horrifying. Yeah.
Meg, thank you so much for taking time out of your torturous life to hang out with me. Let's play some Dead Island 2 this week. You let me know if I need to buy it on PlayStation.
Yeah, well, we're going to do it, man. We're going to play it up. We're going to do our thing. But listen, of course, you're going to find me here next week. Next week's the 100th episode. And then, of course, you can find me on Primetime Gaming. And actually, I'm going to be doing a little 1-hour show with Boom on Thursday. Just a one-on-one. We're going to be doing a show on Thursday at noon on his channel. So we're going to do that as well. But anyways, guys, it's been a wild time. It's been an insane night. It's been crazy. It feels like a whirlwind. Everybody, when did you go bald? I went bald when I was like 21. Yeah, thanks, Dad. But anyways, whatever. It's all
I'm not going bald, right?
Yeah, you're not going bald. Yeah,
I asked Meg. I messaged him a couple weeks ago, and I one of my kids' Snapchat filters where it puts a perfectly realistic bald head, and I sent it to Meg. I'm like, should I do it? And he's like, Colt, if it's not gone, don't do it. I wonder if I could find that picture.
I mean, like I'm.
Here it is.
I'm this.
Hold on.
I look like Walter White. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, should I do it, chat? Should I just bick it off? Like, just go totally go. Mag, we would look like identical twins, except you would be handsome.
when my beard grows out a little more, because I shaved it right down. When it grows out a little more, I literally just look like what's his name, like Walter White. And then I get the same sort of vibe. I'm the one who knocks. Oh wow, Harky Chuddy dropped another super chat right before we're leaving.
He did. Oh, it is.
Yeah, check it out.
He goes, dang it, all this cow talk. Now I want a steak. Hargeet, I talked to Hargeet last night. He's like, I went out with some friends. We had ribs. We had this and this. He's like, named off all this delicious barbecue. I'm like, you jerk.
Hargeet's awesome. Hargeet, I'll see you on Wednesday night, buddy.
Yeah.
By the way, all that slander is just for entertainment. So don't take it seriously.
Yeah, we do love it. And thank you to everybody who supported my channel. This week's been pretty good. For videos, they're doing nice. It's kind of nice to see a lot of people talking about them and, people enjoying what's to come. So we're going to get out of here and we'll see you next week for episode 100. And I'll try to, Mag and I'll, we'll have bells on, I guess. That dumb saying.
Oh, hell yeah. No, it's going to be a great time, man. It's going to be a great show. And guys, chat, amazing that you guys keep supporting us, that you're all here and everything else. So we will all see you guys next week.
All right, guys, we're getting out. We'll see you later.